Give you some context and some history, and I'll try not to drift off too much into opinion, although I might a little bit. For the past month or more, a group of private citizens in the community joined together in an effort to help preserve runway 927, which is closed and reserved for future planning uses. There is some board sentiment that the way this happened is not acceptable behavior. So I kind of think that the discussion ends right here, unless somebody can tell me how we could have a capital expense when we never cut a check.
How can we ensure no planes land on runway 927, and how can that be enforced?
We can't. No more so than we can ensure that they won't land on the main runway that's currently closed.
I wish I was a pilot, and I wish I understood that better. All I know is what the FAA's position was on it, and that's what concerns me. I don't want the town to be in a position of increased liability if somebody all of a sudden sees what used to be something that looked like a field, and oh wow, now it's somewhat of an attractive runway.
Yeah.
I don't know if the management contract was broken or not. I think there were sections of it that I definitely have concerns about. I know you weren't the...
Yeah, I have nothing to do with the website.
You didn't put the website up, but you did contribute, and it does say Vector Air on the website.
And again, everybody had their own reasons for contributing.
When you talked to the FAA, did you tell them that they were going to do any seal code?
I did, yes. I've showed them pictures of everything that we've done.
And can you tell me when you consulted with the FAA? Do you remember what day it was?
I don't.
There was no consultation with the FAA until I called the FAA.
Looking at the maintenance agreement, and it states right in the third paragraph of this, and I will read it. It looks to me like you had no authority to give them permission to do anything on runway 927. Concerns when you say that you fully complied with this agreement. Section 9 in the agreement, which has to do with insurance on it. Since you authorized the work to be done, did you require the individuals doing this work to have builder's risk insurance?
I did verify that they had the correct insurance coverages for this project.
Did you show that to the town?
I did not.
The town has in this particular clause a requirement that says that we get to see and approve that insurance.
Understand.
You did not do that.
Understand.
I would call to your attention section 9.4, which says failure on the part of the operator to show this, basically, provide the required coverages and conditions on this one is a material breach of this contract. I'm looking at this saying, if we didn't know that this insurance was covered and we have no proof that we had the indemnifications on this one, I have a concern that this is a material breach of this contract. And it's stated specifically that there is a material breach here. Clause that I brought up, do you still feel that you fully complied with that?
I would say no, that I didn't properly notify the town of the insurance requirements by the contractor.
It deems this as a material breach on that one.
I think technically, yeah, I'd have to consult my attorney, but yeah. Yep.
That is what clause 9.4 says.
Yep.
I've stated what my concerns are. I believe that short of termination of this agreement, we need to very much rework the termination clause on this particular one, and if there is any sort of material breach, I would believe that this board needs to basically have some backbone and say, that's it, we're done.
I learned about this at about 6 p.m. the day that the runway, the closed 927 runway had been sealed. Trustee Carnival called me to tell me what had happened, and I was absolutely floored. Could not believe that someone would be so bold. You made the statement, this is no more or less usable than it was before the sealing, and I completely disagree with that statement. What I'm looking at is basically a kid who's got daddy's car keys and took the car out for a spin and abused the privilege is kind of what I'm looking at. And I was really fired up about that when I came in. So we got where we are. I'm now interested in exploring what we can do to limit that, what I view as abuse of this facility. I'm not happy how we got into this position. I feel like there has been some manipulation of definitions and terms. This closed runway, which looks attractive, and I've never seen a written report of people landing on that, but I hear word of mouth. And what has essentially been created is, I think, is the legal definition, an attractive nuisance.
There is a concept of attractive nuisance.
When I found out that certain members of this board, and for full disclosure, members of this board contributed to this project. Other members of this board knew that things were going on. And so the first responsibility is for board members to communicate. Members of this board claim to be citizens, and we all are, but when you're a member of this board, you're a member of this board 24/7.
But I'm having trouble understanding the true intent of what happened here. And that's because of the history of 927. So 2 years ago, the town spent, I believe, in excess of $30,000 to pay the Boyd Group to do an economic study of the airport. And the Boyd Group came back with recommendations, one of which was take 927 off the ALP and build hangars on it to generate some revenue so that the airport could be self-sustaining. The board agreed with that, followed that plan. 3 members of that board still sit on this board. Part of the plan was also to hire a management team to manage the airport. And subsequent to that, the town got sued because of its actions in closing 927. So, again, what is the true intent of some folks in town with regard to 927? Is it, it's not a question for you, it's a rhetorical question.
Yeah, I didn't know.
Is it FOD control, or is it to reopen 927? I have concerns from a development standpoint with regard to 927. There are 480 acres of developable property to the northwest of 927 and the airport. I'm concerned that we reopen 927 one day, and this is my stand. All you folks at the airport, this is where I stand on 927. I'm all in favor of the airport. I am not in favor of reopening 927 because it puts in jeopardy developing that 480 acres of property, which brings to the town, which has a budget problem, $7 to $8.5 million of permit revenue when homes are constructed on those properties. 927 will come into conflict with those properties if it's reopened. So the website, from my perspective, inferred that the work was done for the purpose of someday reopening 927. And yes, I have a problem with that for the reasons I stated. So now the question for our manager, since the board decided to hire a management team to execute the plan of increasing revenues of the airport, and one way of doing that by building hangars on 927, have you now dumped that plan? So this is where I'm getting at on the true intent.
I understand.
On the true intent of your statements and the intent of the group that did the work.
I told you that different people had different reasons for contributing to it. And there are definitely people that want to preserve the runway in hopes that someday, there's some possible potential to open that runway.
Do we have more comment?
Yes.
Yes?
Trustee Gruber. All in favor of the staff bringing back some language, say aye.
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 Yes.
All opposed?
No.
No. 5 to 2.